Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the weapons of hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. Today, we're taking a look at a post-war bullpup. So this is, in fact, an early bullpup. This is the EM2. The British had an early love for bullpups. It was started design after World War II, and it actually got adopted. Some of you might know, some of you might not. And a lot of people won't know that this got adopted. This got adopted as the rifle number 9, I believe. And it got unadopted for a reason. A stupid reason, if you ask me, but there is a reason. So, this thing. It started after the British experience in World War II. They, like the Russians and many other nations, realized that a full power cartridge was not convenient, and engagement distances were usually on the short side. So, building on what the Germans did with the Sturmgewehr 44 and what the Russians did with the SKS and later the AK series, the British thought, let's build a rifle, intermediate, auto, and semi-auto. And they came up with this thing. This was designed by a Polish designer, and to oversimplify it, it is a G43 in bullpup form, chambered in 280 British. So, the 50s roll around, NATO decide start bickering, or the late 40s, the early 50s, NATO start bickering. They want a universal gun and a universal cartridge. And here is where America gotta be the asshole, which they sometimes are. I won't get into politics or anything here, but in this case, I believe they were the asshole. They said, 280, not powerful enough. We need something more like 308, which would eventually lead to 7.62 NATO. That's eventually the cartridge that got adopted. The British, they wanted 280. They said that they wanted it. The Canadians, they would even change 280 to fit the ballistics and power of 7.62 NATO. A bit more like they'd gradually inch their way up there, but it was never good enough for the Americans. The Americans, they were set on 7.62 NATO. They thought this cartridge, it was too wimpy, too puny. It wouldn't do the damage they needed. Eventually, in 51 rolls around, I believe, Winston Churchill said, okay, we'll adopt 7.62 NATO. And they did it in good faith, hoping that the Americans would adopt a universal rifle for the whole of NATO. So the British, they decided, okay, how do we scale this up? Doesn't work. So they head over to the Belgians. Hey, you got that FN FAL, right? Can we borrow it? That got reworked. 7.62 NATO, good to go. And of course they were hoping the Americans would do the same. No, they decided to go for the M14, which I would argue is a lot worse than the FN FAL. And then you get into the history of those guns, the FN FAL and the M14. M14 being a miserable failure in my opinion. So this thing, well, it actually got adopted. Like the Minister of Defense, before Winston Churchill became Prime Minister again, in 51 I believe, for like 5 or 6 days, this was officially adopted by the United Kingdom, the UK Army, for 5 or 6 days. It was never mass produced, but it is an officially adopted weapon. And it has some cool features. So that is the history of it. I recommend looking at Forgotten Weapons video on it. Covers what I said in a lot better. And you get to see this gun disassembled. But let's take a look at it here in hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. So, the first notable thing is, of course, bullpup. Magazine in the back. This magazine, I think it's a 25 round magazine, something like that. We'll find out in a second. It has a pistol grip, as expected. It has this wooden nice curve so that you can hold your hand on it. It's a straight stock, that's a good feature. And it has this unique thing. Looks weird. Is it a sight? It is a sight. This was designed to primarily use optical sights, which was very ahead of its time. They would experiment with it with the FAL, but they wouldn't adopt it. With this one, it was technically officially adopted. So in the 1950s, an optical sight. This was called a unit sight, and Jesus Christ, it's rubbish. It's just way too small of like a lens, so you can't really see much. And just in case, because it was an early sight, there is a backup aperture iron sight. I believe these two were ranged for about 200 meters, and the front post is flip up. Not that it really matters, but 200 meters I believe they were zeroed for. So this weapon, also important to note, is made for right-handed. If you're left-handed, you're going to eat a lot of brass. And it has a charging handle on front on the right side. Fires from a closed bolt. Safety, just like the M1 Garand here in the trigger. And there is a semi-auto and full auto switch there, which we can't operate separately in-game. So, without further ado, I guess we're time to shoot it and figure out how many rounds there are in a magazine. Let's begin with semi-auto. Shoot through this really terrible scope. So you have the two lines. I don't know if you can see. Two lines horizontally and one line vertical. And I believe vertical line is where the bottom of the vertical line is where you should be hitting, and the two horizontal lines is just so that you know where the horizon is, roughly. I believe. Not where the horizon is, but like help you stabilize the gun, I guess? Frankly, I don't know. So let's shoot. I mean, I am hitting. Oh, it's only showing... Can I have it show... It doesn't show all the hits. That's annoying. There we go. Let's see, let's look at the timings. 30 rounds actually. And it does lock open on empty. And the real thing has an interesting feature, which I don't believe is present in hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. If we grab a new magazine, the real thing should close the bolt automatically. But sadly, here it doesn't happen. Which is a shame. But oh well, we can't have everything. So you just gotta pull the charging handle and you're good to go. Let's switch over to full auto. Let's reset the target. Looks prettier. And let's blast some with the iron sight. That was quick. It does have a decent amount of recoil. 280 British. This cartridge did have, I believe, significantly more recoil than what 5.56 later would have. But still a lot less than... Can I even chamber it? No. But a lot less than what things like 7.62 NATO has. So it is manageable with full auto, but it's not ideal. And these rubbish... optical sight, it's not ideal, but it's so much better, I would say, than the irons. Like, this is a lot easier. It takes some getting used to because it's so small, but you can be quite effective with it, I believe. So this is the EM2. It is, I like it. It's old. It is an earlier assault rifle, but it has some cool modern features. Also, it has basically an integrated carry handle / optics. It's interesting. and I like it. It's a shame the British didn't actually properly use it, because way better than the FAL in my opinion. But history is what it is. So I do think it's time to end it here. I do hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and all of that. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.